Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum and I'm here today at the Rock Island Auction Company taking a look at an FN FAL with an optic on it. So today, if you look for ways to put optics on FALs, you're going to find basically some clamp-on Picatinny style mounts. And those are pretty sturdy, and they're definitely the only way to attach modern optics to a FAL. However, that is not how the FAL was originally designed to include an optic. So there are actually a whole bunch of different optical setups that have been used on the FAL because it was adopted by a bunch of different militaries. And at the beginning, each military would come up with its own optics mounting method and its own optic to use. So the Belgian military used scopes made by a company called OIP. In fact, the Belgians took the scopes off their old FN 49 rifles and put them on their new FALs. The German army then came up with its own system. There was someone at some point, possibly the South Africans, or someone actually used an OEG, an Armson OEG, occluded eye gun sight, specifically built on a FAL top cover. That's pretty cool. However, by the 1970s, FN was offering scoped rifles itself. And it was able to do this because FN, as having become kind of an industrial conglomerate, actually had its own optics division. So they made their own scopes, and this is one of them. So the starting point for this is the sheet metal top cover of the FAL. And on a normal FAL, that's just a rounded top cover. What they did to mount optics was actually design a different style of top cover that has a larger surface area in it, to which they riveted a heavy-duty scope base and then mounted a Stanag pattern scope. So there's no Picatinny rail anywhere on this. They're just two standard screw attachment holes. And you'll find that as fairly typical for NATO pattern scopes through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Just to point out here, the rifle that this is mounted on is an actual FN Belgian production FAL, so this was imported into the US before 1989, and it is the correct configuration to be a rifle that would have been shipped in this configuration from FN to presumably, well, to typically a military customer. Most notably, it's got the late pattern muzzle brake device that FN developed. And of course, it also has the folding bipod, which is a nice beneficial feature to have on a rifle with a scope. Now, if I pop this open, I can take the bolt out, and then I can take the top cover out to show you. This is a pretty tight fit. There we go. This may not be as sturdy as a solid, as a bolted-on piece of Picatinny rail, but these are actually reasonably good scope mounts, better than you might expect. So you can see the outside of the rivets here, and then you can see where they go through on the inside. There are a few different designs of these top covers. Some of them have even more reinforcing than this one. As for the scope itself, you will find this simply marked FN and serialized. We have adjustable focus back here. It is 24 millimeters at the viewing end, and it has a slight bell, and it actually expands out to 28 millimeters at the front end. There is an elevation adjustment dial on top, as you might expect, with a BDC cam, a bullet drop compensator. So it's going to go from 100 out to 600 meters. And it's worth noting that FN used the same scope for both the FAL and the FNC rifles. On the FNC, there will be a BDC cam here calibrated for 5.56 millimeter cartridges. That will be marked either 92 or 109 or SS 109, depending on the exact 5.56 loading that it was designed for. So this one has no such marking, and that indicates that it is in fact a 7.62 millimeter NATO BDC cam. We then also have a windage adjustment knob over here on the right side. This is really pretty basic, simple stuff on a typical scope. Now you can find other manufacturers' scopes. In fact, typically very similar scopes. Kind of the NATO standard was usually a 4-power scope that'll have a very similar profile to this. There are a couple of 4x24s, as well as this 4x28 pattern. Hensoldt shows up a lot, and so do other manufacturers. But this is the one that FN actually manufactured in-house. So there is a tunnel through the scope base here, but it's actually meant more of a lightning cut than an actual an ability to use iron sights, because while you can see the irons through there, it's not actually quite lined up with the iron sight, so it doesn't give you a very good sight picture. So here's a view through the reticle. It's kind of a cool design. You've got a German post coming up from the bottom, and then you've got a horizontal line with some indicator hashes that will allow you to determine range or windage. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I know I personally really get a kick out of these old scoped Cold War battle rifles. I think they're really cool. And they're also really quite rare in comparison to the base rifles. So I like to show them to you guys whenever I have the opportunity to find them myself. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you'd like to know more about this rifle, it is of course on Rock Island's auction catalog, and you can find out more about Rock Island themselves by taking a look at the links in the description text below. There's one to Rock Island's Instagram page and one to their YouTube channel. So lots of good stuff there to check out. Thanks for watching.